We're going to get Derek Wetmore's answer on this in this coming segment here. But would you prefer the package you could get from the Blue Jays, which is Marcus Stroman and Ken Giles, or would you prefer the package you get from the Giants, which is Madison Bumgarner and Will Smith? And we're going to find out what Derek Wetmore thinks about those two packages and which one he would prefer, hypothetically speaking, in this segment as we return to the SKOR North Twin Show right now. Ramie Makhlouf.
First Place Twins Show live from Boma, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 ranks. The magic number is 65. I'm Ramie Makhlouf, along with Derek Wetmore. That was Manny Hill's voice you heard on the other side of the glass. If you want to answer that question, 651-646-8255. And again, in this hypothetical that I've laid out for Derek and Manny and you, we're saying those two packages, similar price. This is all strictly hypothetical. Don't come to me, Ramie, that's stupid. This is strictly hypothetical. Same price for those two packages, Stroman and Giles on one side, Bumgarner and Will Smith on the other. And your analytics, your projections have told you, maybe you talk to Wes Johnson, he's like, hey, I see something in Bumgarner. I can unlock that. We can get him back into form. Whatever the case may be, your projections say the Giants package will help you win a World Series more this year, but Stroman and Giles have contractual control beyond this year. Which one of those deals is more attractive to you, Derek Wetmore?
And you asked me to spend time over the break thinking about this,
Yes.
and I forgot to think about it. So I'm kind of answering off the cuff, but with the precursor.
Let me hear your thought process. Let's do what they do on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Sure.
Tell me what you
Walk me through it.
Yeah, walk me through it. What
So
are you thinking?
Meredith or are you Regis Philbin?
I'll be Meredith.
Okay.
I'll be Meredith.
So, like, this is it's not on the fly because I could think about this stuff all the time, but
Sure.
at the same time, it's on the fly. I did not know that you were going to present me with these two trades, Ramie. Sorry, Meredith. And I didn't know that you were going to tell me that somehow we've seen the future and predicted Bumgarner plus Smith to be more helpful on a percentage basis, I'm guessing, to win the World Series.
This is all projections, and
Right.
that's how these organizations operate when they're considering
Absolutely.
trades or drafts or signings or whatever the case might be. They have projections in front of them and what they think, what the data says these guys will be moving forward.
For
So
sure.
I'm saying in this hypothetical, these projections are telling you Bumgarner and Smith will help you more this year than Stroman and Giles, but you have the contractual control of Stroman and Giles beyond this year.
All right, so here's where my thought process goes. All things being equal, you prefer the control. Don't forget, your starting rotation, I know we are focused on the 2019 World Series, and I'm not going to get away from that. But don't forget, your starting rotation, you're probably going to pick up Martin Perez's contractual option for next year. So you got him, you got Barrios. You might get Barrios a nice contract extension this winter. You're going to lose, potentially, to free agency, Michael Pineda, Kyle Gibson, and all-star Jake Odorizzi. So, your starting rotation, you're going to need some help. You'll have some capital to go fix it. But my point, all of this long-winded rambling is that, like, you do have to think at some point about the 2020 and 21 clubs. With that being said, that's my stance when all else is equal. And you just told me that not all else is equal.
Right.
You're asking me, are you willing to forgo contractual control to improve your chances right now?
That's why I framed the hypothetical in the way.
I love it.
Thank you.
You're putting me through mental gymnastics, Meredith. It's a challenge, and I wish I could phone a friend. I'm thinking about this, though, and saying, okay, how much not equal is it? And then I laugh at myself because I'm like, does it even matter how much not equal it is? I'll explain what I mean. If the Giants package of rentals gives you a 18% chance to win the World Series, whatever, I just make up a number, and the Blue Jays package of non-rentals, two nice pitchers that you'd like to add to your club, if they give you something like a 13% chance, something like that, that's a big difference to me.
Right.
So I laugh at myself for even thinking about, well, how much of a better chance are you going to give? I think you just take the better chance for the 2019 World Series. Now, if the price is different, now we can talk about all that kind of stuff. But you said the price is the same. The only difference, there are two differences in these two packages, It's one gives you a better chance to win this year's World Series. So say your made up numbers. And two, you get to keep the other guys around via salary arbitration beyond this season. That's appealing on its own. But man, isn't the goal of the sport to win a World Series?
Yes.
So I think you take the higher percentage chance to win a World Series, whatever you figure out that's going to be.
Derek. I thought you'd be Mr. Precautious on
Final
this one.
answer.
I really thought you'd be Mr. Cautious. Oh no, we have to. I'm trying to win multiple World Series, which I've heard Derek say in the past numerous times.
I'm pushing my spectacles up my nose, and well, you got to think about the 2023 roster construction.
No, Ramie, you have to think about contracts and the future and your farm system.
That's a pretty good Conan voice. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm glad you answered the way you answered.
Final answer, because do I get the $1 million or what?
And Manny, I don't know about you. My first and foremost objective leading up to the trade deadline here, if I'm the Twins, is how do I improve my chances of winning a World Series this year? Everything else is just a cherry on top. Everything else is just extra. Everything else is dessert after you've had the meal. If I can get a guy who can help me win a World Series this year and contractual control beyond, great. But if I'm presented with that scenario of trade A or trade B, trade A gives me a better chance to win now, trade B gives me a good chance to win now, but contractual control beyond, give me deal A every time. You have to strike now.
I think it's kind of, and I'm criticizing myself here for this thought process, but I think it's kind of like scaredy pants logic to say, well, we'll take a little bit lower chance this year, but we're setting ourselves up for the future. It's like, dude, there are not too many givens in Major League Baseball. Look at the number of teams that we were sure were going to be contenders this year. The Boston Red Sox just traded for Andrew Cashner to hope to salvage their season and punch their ticket to October. That was a team that Ramie, in 5 Thoughts before the season, we did a 5 Thoughts audio version.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even spend time talking about them because they're like, well, they're in, so let's not waste time. Let's talk about some other teams that could make the playoffs in the American League. Now the Red Sox might not make it.
Right.
Stuff happens is my point. And so when you have a window, when you know that you have a window, and I do think that the Twins have a chance to go to multiple World Series here over the next couple of years, but I'm not gonna punt on the 2019 in any capacity, not even like a little bit. Am I going to punt on improving your odds in 2019? We can still have thoughts about, value and contract and prospects. I'm not trading Alex Kirilloff. Don't call me. Don't text me. But if you're talking about a trade that improves you a little bit versus a trade that improves you more than a little bit, you always, always, always have to look at the latter. You have to look at the second one that's going to put you in a position to win a World Series this year. No waiting around.
Once you enter a competitive window, every year is about winning now. So from now until whenever the competitive window closes, and sometimes that's going to mean trading prospects and sacrificing the future beyond that competitive window. But once you enter that window, and it's the same thing I've been saying about the Vikings, who went all in. They pushed all their chips to the center of the table. That's the one poker analogy I do understand.
Pretty good.
They pushed all their chips to the center of the table on winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 years.
Yes.
When they signed Kirk Cousins. So that means that every offseason you have to operate and make decisions that affect the now. And how do we maximize this coming season? Same thing with the Twins. Now that these guys, and Thad Levine told us last week, you don't get this kind of honesty from GMs very often. He said this team probably arrived about a year earlier than we expected it to. He flat out told us that.
That's great.
So now that they've arrived and now that window is open, that's how you operate. Every season is about this season. There is no looking forward to next season.
And the other part of this too is I think we can project what the Twins window can be over the next handful of years.
I'll give it to you. It's as long as they have Mitch Garver on their 25-man roster.
But I think the reality is we don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we don't know. In theory, on paper, this team looks like it's set up to be very good and very competitive again next year. But what happens if somebody gets, knock on wood, somebody gets hurt? It could change a lot of things. Or what happens if, player A or player B or player C regresses a little bit next year and you're just not as good? And then if you go through this season and you don't make that move to try and give yourself a chance to win a championship in 2019, Then when 2020, 2021 rolls around and you're not as good because your window isn't as open as you originally thought it was, then you're looking back at 2019 and saying, man, if we would have just pulled the trigger on that deal, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, the window is, and how when the window opens, how long the window stays open, that's always a fluid situation. All those scenarios that Manny just talked about could play out. You could see guys regress. This could be a pop-up year for some guys, and they might not perform at this level in the future. Jose Barrios could, God, I hate saying stuff like this.
Stop yourself. We don't have enough wood in the studio.
I'll just say this. Pitcher A could blow out his elbow. I won't name any names. Pitcher A could blow out his elbow. And that completely changes the picture. So,
Barbarian.
So yeah, that is something you have to consider, that it could change as soon as next year or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. It's a fluid situation. But until it closes, until that stick you have in the window holding it up breaks and the thing slams shut, you operate to win now. Every season is about this season and this season only.
Good GM speak. Fluid situation. I like the way you seamlessly slip that in there.
Thank you.
Because think about it. How many people expected this team to be this good this year?
Thad Levine told us he didn't even expect it.
Yeah, only Ramie Makhlouf, I think. I can't raise my hands.
I didn't expect them to be this good. I said they'd win the division, but that was partly because I didn't think the Indians would be as good as we've seen in the past few years, and I thought the Twins would take a step forward. This is a big step forward. This is a huge step forward.
Point taken. All of that is true and right. I think we got to be smart about this here in the land of 10,000 rakes, Bomba Soda. I think we've got to be mindful of that window starts this year. And if you screw it up at the trade deadline, you could make sure it ends this year.
Right. It could
you
close
can
really
screw
fast.
it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't screw it up is my point. You're sitting on pocket kings right now. There's a poker analogy for you, Ramie.
No idea.
The Indians, you're pretty sure, don't have as good of a hand.
Okay. That I get.
Yeah, it's like
Thanks for boiling it down.
That's the essential element I'm getting at here. You're sitting on pocket kings, and you could screw it up if you try to get too creative or mortgage the entire future to maximize your percent chance of winning this year. Because Ramie, you know well that maximizing your percent chance this year still is not 100%.
No, there's
if you
never
could tell
a 100%.
me that, I'm in. Forget the future. Get out of second mortgage. Let's go.
I mean, I haven't checked, but when you look at like Fangraphs and they give their percentages on like division, playoffs, World Series, I think like the highest percentage for a World Series contender is somewhere in the like high teens, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm guessing it's the Dodgers.
That might even be exaggerating a little bit.
I'm going to have to figure out exactly what it is. But yeah, I mean, like even the best teams in the world.
Right. You have maybe a 20% chance of winning a World Series if you're the best team in baseball.
If you're the Twins, one of the best teams in baseball, your percent chance to go to the playoffs right now, I've been accused of being a math guy in the past. Mm-hmm. Your percent chance to go to the playoffs, pretty good.
I think it's in the 90s, mid-90s, last I checked.
I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head. That's some Rain Man math that I can't compute on the fly. But your chance of winning this division, it's very, very likely that you are going to win the American League Central. Winning the World Series is different because stuff happens. I liked how Thad Levine talked when you guys had him on the SKOR North First Place Twins Show last week. I liked how he talked about just the idea of what can you control right now? You can't control who the Astros trade for, who the Yankees trade for, that the Red Sox went and got Andrew Cashner. You can a little bit. You could have traded for Andrew Cashner, but like short of that, you don't get to choose what the other team's philosophies are. You just get to control what you can control. And Thad said it really well when he said, what we can control is home playoff games at Target Field. How we control that is winning the division.
Right.
It's clear that's their goal. Win the division, see what else is next. But don't think for a second that isn't in the back of his mind. Also thinking about, holy cow, this is a World Series caliber team that if we do add to, gets a little better. To your point on playoff odds, Ramie, now that I'm rolling.
I have it up too.
Perfect.
We might be looking at different websites.
I want you to go with it because my point is just that like even I haven't looked at the Dodgers yet, so I'm not cheating on this. Even the Dodgers, who everyone says is the best team in baseball, for my money, the only real difference is injuries to the Twins, but that's another segment for another time. The Dodgers, considered the best team in baseball right now by many pundits, What's their percent chance to win the World Series, Ramie Makhlouf?
This is according to 538.
Perfect.
So it's not Fangraphs. According to 538, 23% chance to win the World Series.
Wow,
for the Dodgers.
That's even higher than I thought.
And they're the favorite.
High,
They have the Yankees are at 18, Astros 16%. They're giving the Red Sox a 3% chance to win the World Series. Rays 4. They have the Twins at 8%.
Yeah, that's
an
what
8% chance to win the World Series, but 95% to make the playoffs, 88% to win the division. So you're basically trying to bump that up from 8 to maybe 12%. Maybe that's a big bump. If you make the best trades you can possibly make between now and the trade deadline, you're talking about a 4 or 5 point bump in terms of your percentage odds to winning.
See, and I want it to be 20. I want it to be, yes, we're winning this division, and oh look, we just added player X, player B, and player C, and this is a squad now. This is not the cute pop-up Twins that everyone's talking about. Oh, the Twins, they had a nice pop. Oh, good for them in Minnesota. Oh, Max Kepler's putting together a nice year. It's like so condescending, the national perspective on this team. What I view, and maybe I'm a little, I don't know, biased or jaded from growing up and spending most of my life in the Midwest, that like this is a great baseball team. Other teams in other markets are just called great baseball teams. The Twins are called a great story. I can tell you for a fact that the people who run the Twins are not interested in being 2019's great story.
Right.
You're not satisfied if Rocco Baldelli wins Manager of the Year and you get swept out of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
What the Twins are trying to do is take, Ramie, what you called from 538 and from Fangraphs, an 8% chance of winning the World Series. I think you want to really, really step on the gas and try to bump that number up as high as you can. And that's not a hot take. That's what everyone's talking about.
I may have misspoken when I said that you'd be hard pressed to get it up to 12%. I think you can get up close to where the Yankees and the Astros are right now, and they're at 18%.
Well, some of the math here, you got to remember, some of the math is that the Yankees are expected right now, based on the standings, to run away with that division.
Yeah.
I mean, they're projected to win 100 games. The Twins might win 100 games too.
They have the Twins, at least what I'm looking at, going 99 and 63.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. They didn't crack the century
Ah.
mark. Come on, boys. You need to sweep one of these series
Wasted
so you
season.
end up with 100.
Wasted season if you only win 99.
99 empty, vacuous feeling left in my mouth. But the Astros, meanwhile, are also probably going to cakewalk to winning that division, so they're perceived to have a higher percent chance of winning the World Series. These numbers change and move once teams are eliminated. Once that Indians number, which, by the way, Twins fans, if you get any pleasure from Schadenfreude, the Indians are considered right now by Fangraphs to have a 2.3% chance of winning the World Series. Once that goes to 0, your odds go up. You get some of those percentage points, but your team is also better. You're closer. There are just not as many teams that can variance it away from you. They can just slip and win 20 games in a row and whoops, well, sports are fun. Sorry, you were the better team, but we got hot at the right time. If you're the Twins, you want those teams to sort of fall off by the wayside, but don't waste these next 2 weeks in improving yourself so that when it's just you and the other contenders standing shoulder to shoulder going for the American League Division Series, you have a puncher's chance